Comrades and friends, Global Weekly News, serial number 195. Before going to the program, let us pay our homage to the departed, beloved CWFI All India leader, Comrade Dibanjan Chakravarti. Long live Comrade Dibanjan Chakravarti's name. Yes, comrades, item number one, Vijay Prasad, Cuba visit. Professor Vijay Prasad, Executive Director of the Institute of Development and Research, Vijay Prasad came to Cuba as part of a delegation of solidarity from the International People's Assembly, a platform of hundreds of organizations from around the world that are trying to re-establish movement-to-movement internationalism. The delegation was led by National Director of the Brazilian Landless Workers Movement and included President of the Socialist Party of Zambia and the opposition's candidate for president this year. Brian Becker, one of the leaders of the Party for Socialism and Liberation in the United States, director of the People's Forum, and one leader from Italy. The delegation visited many places, including the Latin American School of Medicine, the Institute of Neurology, the Martin Luther King Center, etc. The delegation met with the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Cuba and the President of Cuba, as well as countless ordinary Cubans. The delegation went to the main cemetery in Havana to pay homage to the 32 Cuban martyrs who lost their lives defending Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Vijay Prasad visited countless times over the past 30 years Cuba. Cubans would fight to the very end to defend the right to a future and the refusal to return to 1958, the year before the revolution. During the early years of the revolution, Fidel Castro, the Prime Minister of Cuba, made it clear that the urgency was to solve the people's immediate needs and problems. Cuban Revolution placed its emphasis on ending hunger and poverty, illiteracy and ill health, as well as providing housing and cultural spaces. What has the world become? It is as if billions of people around the world have become bystanders of the atrocities imposed by the United States and Israel, the genocide of the Palestinian people, the kidnapping of the Venezuelan president, the continuous bombing of Iran without any reason or cause, and of course, the attempt to asphyxiate Cuba. Trump seems trapped in Iran, where he did not anticipate the political wisdom of the Iranians in refusing a ceasefire now, only for the US and Israel to rearm and destroy their cities with greater ferocity in a week. Trump cannot seem to bring the war in Ukraine or the genocide against the Palestinians to a halt. Trump's ally, Israel, has once again widened its war to Lebanon. Will he strike Cuba next? There has been no shipment of refined oil to Cuba since early December 2025. The roads of Havana are very calm and quiet because there is simply not enough fuel for cars and buses to take people around. Schools and hospitals, the temples of revolutionary Cuba, a struggle to maintain basic services. Second item, left, left records breakthrough results in French local elections. The left party, France Unbowed, the France Unbowed, recorded breakthrough results in the first round of local elections on 15th March. The results represent a 11-fold increase in their performance. Item number three, Jamaica. Jamaica government has decided to end 5 decades of healthcare relationship with Cuba and lose over 300 Cuban doctors. Social movements in Jamaica are protesting their government's decision to end the medical cooperation between Cuba and Jamaica. This comes amidst rising pressure from the United States against Cuba and any country that that uh, that dares to maintain normal relationship with Cuba. Item number four: solidarity with Cuba. The last Cuba, sorry, the Let Cuba Live Youth Brigade has arrived in Havana. 40 young organizers, activists, artists, and more as part of the Nostra America convoy have responded in a historic act of solidarity, bringing humanitarian aid to the people of the Cuba, standing up uh, against the inhuman blockade and fuel shortage by the Trump administration, saying, "Let Cuba live." Item number five: the impact of Bolivarian revolution in Venezuela. Simon Bolivar, born on 24th July 1793 and died on 17th December 1830, was a Venezuelan military officer and statesman who led what are currently the countries of Bolivia, Colombia, Ecuador, Panama, Peru, and Venezuela to independence from the Spanish Empire. The Bolivarian Revolution is a social revolution and ongoing political process in Venezuela that was started by Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez, the founder of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, and his successor Nicolas Maduro. The Bolivarian Revolution proves that our societies can center human dignity and popular power. Before 1999, Venezuela's oil wealth flowed to corporations and foreign elites, while nearly half of Venezuelan people were in poverty. Hugo Chavez and the Bolivarian Revolution changed that. Oil revenues were recovered for the public good. The 2011 Great Housing Mission of Venezuela redefined housing as a constitutional right, no longer a speculative commodity controlled by banks and private markets. Venezuela houses millions of families by building over 52.5 lakh homes so far, with a goal of 70 lakh homes, 70 lakh homes by 2030. Despite facing 927 unilateral sanctions and a 99% collapse in foreign income due to economic warfare and direct attacks, the Bolivarian Revolution continues. Homes damaged by the January 3 bombings by US are being repaired and families are already returning to their homes. Item number six: oil and gas tankers for Cuba from Russia. Russia has dispatched two tankers carrying oil and liquefied natural gas to Cuba as it confronts a worsening energy crisis amidst President Trump's energy embargo, according to a report. To ensure continuous hospital functioning, to ensure daily travel by commuters, Russian oil and gas will be of great help. Despite geopolitical tensions and sanctions by Western capitalist countries, energy cooperation continuing between Russia and Cuba is a major development. Comrades, item number seven: Comrade EMS Namboodiripad Remembrance Day, 19th March. In 1909, June 13, Comrade EMS was born. At the age of 88, he died on 19th March. On 19th March, we remember Comrade EMS Namboodiripad, one of the foremost leaders of India's communist movement and a founding pillar of the CPIM, a Marxist intellectual and a mass leader. Comrade EMS played a historic role in shaping progressive politics in India. As the leader of the anti-Congress or non-Congress as the first elected communist government in Kerala of 1957. He was the chief minister. He demonstrated how democratic institutions could be used to advance pro-people policies. His government's land reforms and education initiatives struck at entrenched inequalities and empowered workers, peasants, and the oppressed sections. In today's context of rising inequality and communalism, his unwavering commitment to secularism, social justice, and people-centric development continues to inspire generations of progressive forces. Let's salute to Comrade EMS Nawazibad. Item number 8. Iran denies rumors about contact with the US. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi denied that there are any ongoing talks with the US at the moment, refuting reports in Western media about him being in contact with Steve Witkoff, White House Special Envoy to the Middle East. Ever since the start of the current war, Iran has repeatedly claimed it does not seek a ceasefire with the US and Israel until they halt their war and agree to never repeat their aggression in future, and the US removes all of its military bases in the region and pay reparations, compensations for the losses. Represented by Witkoff and Abbas Araghchi, the US and Iran had completed 3 rounds of negotiations over Iran's nuclear program, and as per the Omani mediators, were about to reach a deal when the US suddenly decided to join Israel and bomb Tehran, capital of Iran, on 28 February, killing its supreme leader Ayatollah al Khamenei and several other top officials. Over 1,400 Iranians have been killed in US Israeli bombings in the last 3 weeks. Iran has retaliated to the attacks, targeting several US military bases in the region and Israeli territories and closing off trade through the Strait of Hormuz. The global energy prices have more than doubled in the last week, following Iran's decision to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, through which over 20% of global energy supplies are shipped used to transit. United Arab Emirates has seen its oil production halved since the beginning of the war, half of the oil production. Saudi Arabia uh, has cut its daily output of oil by 20%, while Qatar has shut down some of its gas production as well. The United States has threatened Iran with further destruction and called for a global coalition in order to force it open the Strait of Hormuz. However, most allies of US, including some of the NATO countries, have refused to join any such effect. Comrades and friends, item number 9. Demand of formal apology from British government for 1919 Jallianwala Bagh massacre in India. On 13th April 1919, 100 years before, a tragic event unfolded at Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar of Punjab, India. During a public gathering, British Indian Army troops under the direct command of Brigadier General Reginald Dyer fired upon a large crowd of unarmed peaceful civilians. About 1,500 were killed, thousands were injured. Shooting continued until ammunition was exhausted. A curfew in Amritsar prevented families from reaching those affected in the Jallianwala Bagh Maidan. The gathering at Jallianwala Bagh included people attending Vaisakhi, a major festival, harvest festival, and others protesting the Rowlatt Act, legislation restricting civil liberties such as freedom of speech and assembly. General Dyer said he would repeat his action. In Britain, he received a hero's welcome and awarded £26,000, while Indian victims' families got £25 each. His actions sported outrage in India but praise from many in Britain. Nearing the centenary of the Jallianwala Bagh massacre in January 2016, the Indian Workers Association, Great Britain, initiated a campaign to demand a formal apology by the serving British Prime Minister. On 10th April 2019, the former leader of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn, called on then Prime Minister Theresa May to deliver a clear, unequivocal apology for the killings. Theresa May expressed only her regret. The Labour Party later pledged in their 2019 election manifesto that if it comes to power, it would deliver a formal apology. However, Prime Minister Keir Starmer decided to withdraw his commitment. The campaigners demanded teaching colonial history as an integral part of the national curriculum. I mean, the history, Jallianwala Bagh incident also should be quoted. That is the demand of the campaigners. Lastly, comrades, item number 10, mass demonstrations in Rome against government's judicial reform. 20,000 people joined a demonstration in Rome to oppose reforms to the judiciary planned by the right-wing Giorgia Meloni's government to be voted on in a referendum on March 22-23. The demonstrators, including grassroots trade unions, student associations, and women anti-militarist networks, warned the reform risk eroding existing safeguards securing the judiciary's independence from the government. The warning is that the judiciary will lose its independence from the government. On 14th March, protesters also assembled to denounce the government's militarization drive and their endorsement of illegal US military attacks on Iran and the genocide in Gaza. Meloni government is quietly tightening its authoritarian grip on democracy, the left party stated. Government's reforms aim to place most control in the government's hands ahead of the 2027 general elections. More power for the government, less power for the parliament, and a judiciary redefined by political interest, the left party stated. Thank you, comrades. Lal Salam. See you next week.